I met a gypsy.
Do you think guys are more in love with like the idea of how your career should go? Because like if you don't, like how many guys have we seen that it's like if you come out of amateurs, you win a bunch of Loretta's, then you do good your first year, maybe your second year you get an injury, then you're off that team, and then you go to like a second tier team, and it's like then it's not the picture that they painted for themselves. Totally, so they're like they're more in love with the idea of being a factory rider than actually being a factory rider. Totally, you know what I mean?
Yeah. I 100% agree with you there. I think just a lot of the guys just want to pit out of a semi and have that look. And I don't care what I'm pitting out of. If I've got a decent motorcycle, let's line up. I'll come in the back of a pickup truck, you know?
Yeah.
And I think that's the mindset you have to have, because with that factory ride and with that semi, there's pressure that comes with it. And most people can't handle that.
Yeah.
And a lot of people will say, it's like the biggest misconception as a privateer. Oh, if I just got this factory bike. Nah, mate, you wouldn't do any better.
Yeah.
I guarantee it. And the motorcycles are so good now in stock form. If you can have some good suspension, you can go do well. And if a 15th place guy got offered my ride and my motorcycle, he's not all of a sudden a 5th place guy.
Yeah.
It's just not how it works. And I really believe that, because one, the pressure, two, it's not NASCAR where the car makes up probably 80%, where ours is flipped. We're probably 80% rider, 20% bike. And then once you get to that level, the advantages you have are the technicians and the opportunity to make your bike fit you. Are you going to be good at that? Like I wasn't at first, but that's the biggest thing you have as a factory rider is how knowledgeable can you be and how good of a communicator can you be with your team to make that motorcycle fit you.
Yeah.
Because if you can't communicate what your bike's doing, I mean, you're not gonna get it the way you want it.
And it's almost worse when you're on a factory team with unlimited resources, because you can get lost in the sauce.
Totally, yeah.
Like they can give you everything, like shit you've never changed before.
Yeah.
Like even like, oh, how much torque do you want on your rear axle? Mm-hmm. What the fuck?
Yeah.
Like
yeah.
I tightened it up with a shift.
What mounts do you want on your frame? We have 25 different options.
Yeah. So it's like, it's almost not, you know, like we saw with Medi even, you know, like he was changing so much different stuff. It's like, sometimes that's actually a curse.
Yeah, it can be, for sure. If you don't know what you're kind of getting yourself into and you're not confident in your abilities of what you want, you can definitely get spun out.
And then there's pressure to like give feedback, right?
Yeah.
So you don't even know what feedback you give.
You just want to say something.
Yeah,
right?
you just
it's better. It's better.
Yeah.
Where then you get a little older and wiser and you're like, I couldn't feel anything.
Yeah.
And that's not a bad thing. But when you're young, you think it's a bad thing because there was something changed. So it should change the way the bike is. So I'm just going to act like, oh yeah, that seemed a little different over there. So yeah, it was better. And then you just get them going down the wrong road. Like it can be, you can open a big can of worms by going down the bad side of testing, for sure. And I've seen it, and honestly I've been a part of it, but it's how I've learned to be more vocal on what I really want, and then be confident in knowing the direction I'm taking them. Because at the end of the day, like when people complain about their bikes, when riders, like factory riders, complain about their bikes,
they're really complaining about themselves.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
Like they need to take more responsibility. And if I was a team manager or team owner or anything, I would be huge on that. Like, look, on Tuesday, you wanted this change. So don't go badmouth our motorcycle on Saturday night because it wasn't the right direction, because you led us down that direction. So we're all in it together. Like I can't stand when people badmouth their bikes so much, because you're in it together. Like, try and get it as best you can. If it wasn't good on that night on that certain track, okay, that's fine. But you don't have to make it vocal and how bad your bike is and this is the reason why. Because I think riders need to take more responsibility for the way they've set up their motorcycle.
Dude, Nate Ramsey was the one that I assumed in my naive, like didn't know anything when I went to America, that like if you're on a factory team, you knew what you were talking about as a rider in terms of testing. And I remember like leaving the test track with Nate Dogg and it'd just be like, he has no idea,
clue.
like literally like no idea. Or I'd say something, he's like, you know more about the motorcycle than that dude.
Yeah.
And that blew my mind. And he said, he's like, dude, there's probably 10 dudes in the world that can actually test a motorcycle
Mm-hmm.
and give legitimate feedback. And I was like, dude, you have to be exaggerating. Like, you must be
so true.
exaggerating that there's 10 dudes. He's like, nah, there's no one. Like, people really don't know.
Yeah. But then I also think it's the team's responsibility to relay that message to the rider that it's okay.
Yeah.
It's totally fine if you don't know what you're talking about. If we put a slick on the rear and you can't even tell, that's okay.
Yeah.
Or, you know what I mean? Like, some riders just think they should be good at testing because they're a factory rider. So
that's for sure true.
The team should just say, okay, we've got this guy that doesn't really know. Let's help him through the process. Let's not change a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
Let's kind of work him through it, and then rather than just expect him to know. And then, because sometimes the teams can be like, oh, that guy's terrible at testing, he this and that. Once again, it's just like, no, you're in it together.
Is it like, do a lot of teams try and teach the riders how to test?
Not really.
So you think that's like a bit of an issue?
Yeah.
Because it wouldn't be that hard to like teach somebody. Because like me and Sleater had this conversation. Like, I think it's kind of weird that, but I get why it happens. But like, say you go to Factory Honda and you're like, oh, I'm thinking I'm going to sign with the team. They want to give you like the best shit day one. Like, this is our sexual chocolate right now.
Yeah.
Like, you're riding the A team. And then it's like winning your first race. Like, where do you go from there?
Yeah.
Like, it can only, like, it, how much better are they going to make that motorcycle? Like, percentage points left or right, better, worse. Whereas it's like, if you go, like, that's what Todd did with when he got on the Huskies. They sent him a stock bike, and he just rode it for like months. And he wasn't, granted it was motocross, you sort of can't do that on Supercross, but he had a stock bike and he's like, dude, I love this thing. And then he knew the bike, and then he got new forks and a new shock. And then he's like, okay, I really know, like, I can really tell. And he's like, he was stoked because he's like, that just made this thing like way better. And there was like a positive attitude towards that change, and he felt invested in that change. And then, you know, he does all his own clickers and stuff like that. And that's like, then they put an ignition on, then they put a pipe on it. It's like, in his head, he's like, dude, this thing just keeps getting better and better. Whereas that's not how it works. It's like, literally, here's the stiffest, fastest beast machine that we can give you. And it's like, then where do you go?
I actually agree with that, what Todd did. I mean, I think it's great to start on a stock motorcycle, whether it's just in motocross or whatever. When I found out I was going to ride for the factory team this year, it was going to be some logistical, like, it was going to be tough to get a motorcycle in North Carolina. And I wanted to stay there. We had some stuff going on with family and stuff, so I wanted to stay there. It was like another 3 weeks. And then I was flying to California to test the factory bike. So I went and bought, the 2020s just came out. I went and bought a motorcycle off the showroom floor of a shop to ride it in stock form, just to see. And then I put Supercross suspension on it and some handlebars and a pipe, and I motoed that thing for 2.5 weeks. And it was crazy. For one, I was nervous as heck going to the track. The first day I was going to ride a stock bike. I hadn't ridden a stock bike in so long. And
isn't that crazy?
So
that,
good.
Like, you're paid to be a representative of Honda. And it's like, what they're selling is the stock bike. Like, you're not even riding what they're selling. But like, you should have that experience.
Totally,
You're a salesman.
And now that I have, like, I can't believe how good stock bikes are. Like, it blows my mind how good that thing was. I was telling Brent, my mechanic, one day after we were riding, I was riding on Supercross, stock suspension, stock ignition, stock.
So you rode stock suspension on Supercross?
Supercross suspension.
Oh, okay.
But everything else was stock except handlebars. And I mean, stock clamps, just everything, the stock linkage, all of it. And it was awesome. Like, it was, of course, my factory bike is better, but you can take that motorcycle, and my exact words were, I could take this to Anaheim and do well on it right now. And it's wild. We live in a really cool time of how good the motorcycles are. It's not like it used to be where you have to be on works equipment or a factory bike to do well. Nah. Like, Eli Tomac could take a stock motorcycle with some suspension on it and do really, really well. And just like I said earlier, the 15th place guy cannot get on a factory motorcycle and go do what Eli's going to do. It's not that way.
Are you better in your testing process now with your Honda because you spent those 2.5 weeks on a stock bike?
I don't know if I could say I'm better. I mean, we definitely started more of just a base platform. And because typically, you know, guys will cut the subframe and do a different linkage and then run some different offset clamps. I wanted to see what the bike was like just in stock trim, as far as just the chassis and how that felt. So we pretty much started with that when I started on the factory bike. I didn't start with a stock engine, but as far as the chassis parts and stuff, we started pretty much stock.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you think that then helped, like, does that help the process to sort of go, instead of just jumping straight to like, here's the thing with all the fruit on it, we can change all these individual pieces, as opposed to like, here it is stock and we can just slowly add things to it.
And then you grow with the team and the bike, because then you can visually see, yep, this is better, or on the stopwatch, yep, that was better, rather than just start out and be like, all right, well, so what'd you guys have on the rear of that? Or, hey, what'd we start with here? Well, let's go to this because we think this might be better. So, yeah, it just gives you a solid base platform to start on.
Yeah.
And I think it helps everybody, because then you can grow with the bike and you can grow with the team, and the way you relay a message to the team, every rider relays a message different.
Yeah.
Different wording for it. So I think it helps everybody.
If you enjoyed this content, please like and subscribe. And to listen to the full 3-hour podcast, search Gypsy Tales in your favorite podcast platform or click the link in the description below. Gypsy Gang.